y'all just take a look at this map. The maps may not ring your bell, but this one I worked really hard on. See all these meandering lines, east to west, north to south? Those are streams and creeks and rivers that I waded and crossed and recrossed as I surveyed this county to make this map. Down here are a couple of gold mines, and up here just west of Lexington is a granite mine. Now it's interesting because there wasn't a map in this degree of detail before mine, but our county was already over 100 years old, so it was time for a detailed map. I had a lot of adventures producing this thing. Critters and varmints, snakes, measuring with a wheel. 442 square miles. It's the largest county in Georgia. This map was published in the fall of 1894, 120 years ago this very month. I'm forgetting my manners. I am Thomas Britton Moss, and I was born on April the 2nd, 1823 in Clark County, about 20 miles to the northeast of here. I went to Franklin College and graduated in 1846. It was also called the State University. It was not called UGA, which I've heard some of y'all say here today. Not yet. Whatever it's called, I graduated from that institution 168 years ago. And it seems just like yesterday. But before I was a map maker or a cartographer, I was a teacher. That was my first love. When I got out of school, I was like a racehorse, just couldn't wait to get into the classroom. One of my classmates wrote when we got out of Franklin College that I had the determination to make education the business of my life. And that was about the truth. I was thrilled to come out to Lexington, to the Mason Academy, and start teaching first dozens and then later hundreds of students. I taught for over 41 years, and I was principal for about half that time. That was more than all 19 of my predecessors combined. It was written in the Oglethorpe Echo, which is our local paper, that a child that could not thrive under my supervision had at best be put in a lunatic asylum. Now that's strong language, but that was actually written in the newspaper. In December of 1849, I married Miss Parmelia Hanson. And Parmelia and I had 5 children. We had 3 boys and 2 girls. Now, our sons predeceased me, but my daughters were with me until the day that I too entered immortality in 1898. I have some blessed memories of my family. You may have heard of the late unpleasantness, the Civil War. I served in the Toombs Regiment, which was sponsored by Mr. Robert Toombs, who was the Confederate Secretary of State and a successful planter from Washington, Georgia, about 20 miles to the southeast of here. I also had a real benefit where that war was concerned, which is that I came home with all my parts intact, which a lot of people I know did not. The war was hard on people, including financially, and the Mason Academy suffered tremendously from its endowment. All we had left after the war was about $1,000 in paper stock of the Georgia Railroad and Banking Company. My fellow teachers and I would go for months sometimes without a reliable salary. See, what had happened was the old academy style of teaching, which had done really well in the antebellum economy, people couldn't pay for it after the war. People didn't have money to send their kids to school. And when you think about it, it's remarkable that the Mason Academy was able to stay in the business of education as long as it did. In 1875, I was entered politics. I was appointed by the governor to the County Commission of Oglethorpe County. The very week I was appointed, there was an earthquake felt in Georgia and around the southeast. Do you think maybe it was a sign? Maybe somebody trying to tell me that I did not need to be going into politics? Well, I digress. I continued teaching, and by the end of it, of my 41 years in teaching, I had taught over 900 students. That works out to 22 and a half per year, and I can tell you some of those halves or something to write home about. By the 1890s, everywhere I went in this county, I knew somebody that I had taught or their children. I had former students from California, Pennsylvania, from Florida to Oregon. The girls were generally better students than the boys. They liked their parties and their picnics, but they did their homework. The boys, particularly after about 1870, were just fascinated with an exciting new game called baseball. And it was all I could do sometimes to keep them focused on their studies so that they could graduate. Tuition at the Mason Academy. You had to pay to go there. It was from $5 to $11 a quarter per student. Compare that, if you will, to the cost of a drink in one of Lexington's notorious bar rooms at the time, which was 10 cents. Do the math over a quarter. You can see that the value of money for education was much higher than it was for being a professional drinker. I'm kind of jumping around in my topics this afternoon, but do any of y'all know if the clock on the Baptist church up there is still working? I donated that clock in 1885. I like for things to run like clockwork, especially on Sunday. Now, when I retired, I stayed active chaperoning groups on picnics and excursions and such as that. And I like to take kids to Town Creek fishing, and they'd splash around in the mud and the water, not generally catch any fish. Listen, I can see that some of y'all are starting to droop off. It's been real nice to talk to you this afternoon. No more ramblings from an old man. Thank you so much.